Dumelang ra amogela mo go Daily Thetha on SABC 1. Naka lebitso ke nna Nicolette wa ga Mashile ngwana wa kwa Bushbuckridge Mapulaneng. It is April, the month of freedom mo South Africa. Kgwedi ya tokologo ra tibara ka di 27 tsa April ka 1994. We voted for the first time for a democratic South Africa. Re wisiye taba ya apartheid ra ba ya fasi, and all our heroic stalwarts who fought against so much oppression and so much discrimination, especially for rona batho ba bantu ba ivisiye ka di 27 April 1994. Mara tsore nyeko se putsela gone mo ga delise ko rena tsona ditokologo tsona tse ba di lweleng tsona re di kreye ka mka tsona na re duleng le gono ka 2018 mo South Africa. The dignity ra e kreya na mo South Africa. Wa re sana taba ya go re lwela economy ya mo South Africa. If tsona ditokologo tsona ba di lweleng ka bo 1990 before 1994 and ka 1994 re kreye stamp sa gore re di kreye kam ka rone mo South Africa ra di enjoy na.
Sanibonani igama lami Kini wa Shandu kanti uyena otoleka ulimi lezandla usesifortune Madlala, and namhlanje sibheka inkululeko esikuyona. Kunabanye abakhala ukuthi inkululeko siyitholile but kunamla freedom asingathi ikhohlakele, especially for thina abantu abasha. Ziningi izinto abangazithola, abanye abantu abasha basakhala ukuthi if you look at freedom esayithola, what about the land, what about the data esingakwazi ukuthi we access for free, what about internet kwezinye indawo, what about education esingakwazi ukuthi siyithole, what are those freedoms ocabanga ukuthi umuntu osekhaya omusha iwona amalungelo ngempela obona ukuthi asikakawatholi 24 years later. That's what we're talking about namhlanje. Give us a call ekhaya, it's 0113391315. Thola kuzo zonke inkundla zokuxhumana siza ukuthi wena mhlawumbe usesekhaya nje amanzi anikwazi ukwathola, indawo yangasese nisayikhulule ehlahleni. Abanye babantu basakhala ukuthi i-transportation or izinqalasizinda infrastructure aningakabi nayo ekubeni nithi 24 years ni celebrate i-democracy. Yona into esikhulumayo namhlanje but asibingeleleni bonke abese studio. Welcome to Daily Thetha bafowethu. Ladies first,
yes.
You go. Nicolette says ukuthi bathina bafowethu imaphi lamalungelo abakhala ngawo namhlanje abathi bona ngokwabo lokho asikakakutholi njengelungelo lethu.
Kupothomeka libitso la gago papa.
Igama lami nguNewo, ngiphuma eShawela Soweto. I-freedom engiyibonayo is freedom of education. Thina ezikolweni is like 1994 Nelson Mandela said that there would be a free education.
Yeah.
A free education, okay, sharp sizwile 1994. Uzuma wa former president wayivuma ukuthi okay sharp thina saniyenzela leyo nto leyo. But when you still go to school basakubuza ngama fees. Fees didn't fall. Understand that leyo part still. So thina sikwazile ukuphasa umatric, we still cannot get that access. Yabo basibuza ukuthi our parents are working nani. So into engakhala ngayo namhlanje.
Ukuthi ufuna that free education
yes, by implement, because when you go to UJ and when you go to VETS it's a different story. But when you go to Val kuyalunga kancane, but there are slight chances. Yabo, yes.
Kore nkare ina le go kgetololwa this free education, it depends gore na o go which institution, and I think that's very disheartening to hear.
I think this year ziningi izinto abantu abaningi abasafuna ukuthi bachazeleke ngazo. Free education is one of them. Abanye bakhala with the land as well. Expropriation without compensation izohamba kanjani. Hence we're seeing more and more land grabs enzakala because people don't understand ukuthi kuzowenzakala kanjani. But come to Nsizwa ngizwe ukuthi imaphi lamalungelo akhala ngawo ukuthi yena ngokwakhe namhlanje ubona ukuthi asikakawathola amalungelo.
Okay, ngibingelele lonke igama lami nguSizwa Mkhonazi. I'm from Speed Up Production. But I lost a father when I was so young, because of he was a comrade into this struggle. So the only thing that I'm seeing that government is not giving us are the benefit of our father's struggle. You know, taking it back to Togoza 1965, where Mama Winnie Mandela, rest in peace, she played a very magnificent role into us having the whole peace that we're having now. And Bugonke by our fathers, our heroines and heroes that took place. But now, one thing that is forgotten about people are the benefits, directly benefit to those people who lost their fathers, because now I had to be raised by a stepfather. I had to not inquire much of good education because no one was paying for my education. But now is the government coming back to me and say, we recognize you, we recognize your father, we recognize that you lost a source of income of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Can we take you to school? Can you do this? Can we provide a job? Do you have any qualification that you have within the database?
See, the EMK in a bursary fund and Nama struggle icons Amanya as well, they've been taken care of. Have you inquired about that? Do you know much, or you don't qualify to that bursary?
Yes, yeah. You see, in that one, now within the structure, they were a division. So now they started neglecting EMK. So the negligence of EMK now leads to a lot of political parties that within Makasi when there's so now EMK now ended up being 4 or 5 people who have been taken to power, while all the rest is been neglected and the whole nature is.
I don't know what you make of this ekhaya, but asizona kuwena in terms of ukuthi ngokubona kwakho imaphi lamalungelo osakhala ngawo njengomuntu omusha, because egcineni nakho konke ivoice yomuntu omusha ibalekile eNingizimu Afrika. Let's come to your side, Nicolette.
Let's look at a bit of social media. Our right to basic things like clean water and good health as afforded by the government are non-existent in townships, and the mediocrity that has been normalized by a paralyzed local government. It's you know, the one thing that we always ask ourselves in South Africa, especially at the holidays, Freedom Day, understand that Freedom Day, but also what are some of those freedoms that they are celebrating, or is it just a normal holiday?
Think Karuna youth, we don't understand what freedom is. Like, for example, as far as health is involved, like rural areas, the doctor, the nurse, they don't treat our grandparents they don't give them respect the way they give youth like.
So or freedom everybody in the past, is it not enough for today?
Yeah, it's not enough because they don't treat Baba Holuka dignity, like they don't give them that thing. They're also human.
Okay. All right. Do you agree with her, Papa? Freedom evaluating all those years ago. I mean, they concentrated on political freedom. Was it enough in 2018?
Okay, thank you. My name is Advocate Mzansi, and I think at some point she is right. At another point she's a bit wrong. Because in hospitals normally
next time
all right. I believe that in particular hospitals it's all black maidens like nurses and so umuntu ne stress from ekhaya azusehlisela istress sakhe uma patient actually into kanjalo. Otherwise in all these other private hospitals where it's like white people, nurses and all that, I wouldn't say they being mistreated. You know.
I worry about what you are saying, and I'll tell you why I worry about it. Because ka freedom ya gore itseya ke batho, they are taking it back for your freedom to the right to have good health. It's not that it doesn't exist in the country. It's not that you don't have the freedom to get free health, right? Or good quality health. It's individuals that are taking that freedom away from you. So what should we be doing as BAS? Or what should we be calling out to these people that are working? You guys are actually taking our freedom away.
As we can do as people, I believe educating each other is also important.
Okay.
Speaking to one another, communication. Communication is very important between people. Because by then we know we can lend each other's helping hands. It's okay, when I'm also we can help you with this so that you cannot be like that, especially along. So tell us our problems, what's wrong with you, why you have to mistreat.
And you've got drugs in your community. Tell us about that.
In my community, that's like one of the major factors in my community, because all this nyaupe, it's affecting all the living surroundings around the situation. Actually, like the young people around there, they are very influenced by it. Even the police have a hand in it because they wouldn't do anything about it.
Okay, all right. Kini, I think what I'm hearing, and maybe it's something that we need to be speaking about, do they actually exist? Or are they being taken away by Runa, the people?
If you look at the current structure of our ministers, where too, if you look at the Minister of Education, Indala, and abantu abaningi ma position badala, do you think as umtomusha they understand when we scala ukuthi the freedom yethu ukuthi sithole free data so that you can study? Do they understand such things as abantu abadala?
I don't think they do understand those, because they from a different era from us. Bona amadata nama internet access bezingekho ngenkazi zethu. So
but they don't prioritize them.
Yes. And if we want to deal with the problem, we have to face the source. So this thing of freedom is not free, because physically we are free and mentally we are not free. Our oppressors back then didn't just wake up and said, let us give them freedom. Black people fought for that freedom. So what did they do? they controlled us mentally so that they cannot worry about our actions.
Okay, cool stuff. We're going to come to you as uhlelo luqhubeka nje, trying to find out at home as well ukuthi maphi lamalungelo ocabanga ukuthi kuze kube manje 24 years later asasele ngemuva. Give us a call. Sithole nasenkundleni zokuxhumana sizothi ubona ukuthi napha uhlelo namhlanje.
Are you disappointed with the freedom that you are currently enjoying today? Please do stay with us after the break. Eslikwele moga inset ra chiba gore ka di 26 June 1955 the Freedom Charter was then adopted ko Cape Town. Now it promised a lot of things to our people and batho go tala gore ba phela ka yona ba chiba gore the rights tsa bona, the freedoms tsa bona di tswa gona mon or from the sentiment of this Freedom Charter. Now the question you ributsa le gone mo ga daily tsa go gore na tsona kamkalo tsone bolola ka tsona na wa di enjoy now when today ka 2018 wa gona go kwa gore hi mo South Africa I feel like somebody that is participating in every single aspect of South Africa. Yesterday the World Bank into a study that says gore 49% of South Africans are in chronic poverty. Now, if there's 49% of South Africans in chronic poverty, we are sitting with an economic problem. It means that there is any element of economic freedom. On the couch, we're sitting with Thetha Mopasi.
Yeah,
yes, I did. I said yesterday. Sorry.
It's not.
It was really. I watched it yesterday. Sorry, I'll say a study. Sorry. Okay. Okay. Recently. Okay. Sorry, guys. Okay. 26. As le bonne moga insert ya runa batho go tla ba lla ka yona Freedom Charter yo ba I adoptileng ka di 26 June ka 1955 and re tshepselo tsa go tla man go re o lebelela taba tsa bo free education be di se di le gona already in there, taba tsa economic freedom le tsona be di le gona in there, but we know that a recent study has come out from the World Bank saying gore 49% of South Africans are living in chronic poverty. This means that their poverty every day. You go in and tag out. Every single day they are living in this poverty. So South Africa enjoy these little freedoms that we might take for granted. So enjoy on the couch we're joined by Thabo Mzansi, who is a social activist from Alex Heritage Council, advocate Bongani Mthembu, who is from the UJ Convocation. Welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
I want to go straight South Africa collect the revenue, SARS collect every single year. South Africa. We're not confused about that. And yes, let's say we do have a national debt of however much it is currently, right? But the reality is that there are people in this country that are the 8% that are living well off. Who gets to enjoy this economic freedom of South Africa? Advocate.
Oh, thank you very much. Democracy as it were, by the demos, meaning the people, are supposed to be the one enjoying these particular rights were enshrined in 1955.
Yeah.
But only a specific few are still enjoying these particular rights. It means, therefore, the demos are not enjoying these particular, meaning the people. It's only a selected, edited few. In my view, then who comes to what is then to be done? I think, in my view, that we need, again, as the demos, unite again in one and say all, like said in the Freedom Charter, that everyone, all the people must share to the economy of this particular land.
Advocate, there's something I want to jump into. Let's look at the free education for that matter. We find that our students namanje basakhala with education, whereas we find our vice chancellors and this so much, and there will be corruption. Ekhulunywa ngayo enzala ngaphakathi. Akusili ilungelo lami ukuthi ngazi ukuthi what's happening kuma institutions ahlukahlukene.
It is your constitutional right, it is your institutional right as a student to get to understand what happens in the governance level. You find MECs across the board, all universities, all TVET colleges, you find councillors, meaning senior specific few, they get to then eat this particular money. I'm talking about the University of Johannesburg, the university that I'm leading. There are a certain few that are eating this particular money, and students don't know about it. They don't get to question about it. When a specific few leaders start to question, why is this happening, they then say, you are not supposed to be asking questions. In my view, all the student bodies, your SRC, your convocation, your alumni, are the ones who are to question this particular selected few that is eating this particular money. It's wrong, unethical, and unconstitutional, and therefore they need to be challenged head on.
All right, Thetha Thabo, maybe take us a few years back. Understand the Freedom Charter. What was its purpose?
Well, to my understanding is that when Freedom Charter was first drafted, it was to look into issues of land. That land must be brought back to the owners.
Okay.
So our leaders in Alex, then whilst A.B. Kuma was still the president of the ANC then, who was challenged by the youth to look into this aspect of land. And of course, he considered to step down after he was told and then I think it was through Tate Mandela who were leading that struggle then. And the struggles even today, young people are still battling that land must be brought back to the people. And the reason why we have this poverty that the World Health Organizations, they are speaking about it, it's precisely around the issue of land. When you don't have land, there's nothing that you'll absolutely do.
There's also the issue of people must share, and if you look at abantu abahlala Alex nabanye abahlala in Sentin, kunomehluko omkhulu. How are we going to bridge that gap ngokubona kwakho? 24 years later, still safayitha into ethi ayicishe ifane indlela esingafani ngayo inequality la eNingizimu Afrika.
Well, bridging a gap of whites who were given privileges for 100 years to today's lives, because of if you can go back to history of whites and their trade unions, how they were recognized in 1920, you would also realize that it would be difficult to get to close that gap. And also closing a gap, it will be difficult in the level of corruptions that we are having currently taking place in the country. You have presidents out there who are willing to help, can be prime ministers from other countries, but when you have officials, public representatives who don't have interest of people at heart, then you'll never be able to close that gap.
It's very interesting you mentioned that point, because what I really what's going in the back of my head, okay, so now Mangli Mangi Udulangli and understands for South Africa has got an issue of corruption. We've got this issue of not everybody's sharing in the wealth. Because I feel like we've talked. We've had enough conversations, guys. It's 24 years after democracy. How do we fix this? How do we make sure after 1955 is almost 60 years ago. Land. Advocate.
Look, unfortunately, the land belongs to all of us. The people who live
But I don't have land, advocate.
Unfortunately, not all of us own land. There are those, land is divided into other portions. There's industrial land, there's business land, there's land for communal, there's land for residents. Now, when we say people then must live in a land or must own a specific piece of land, it means it's their constitutional right. It's enshrined in the constitution that everyone is entitled to a house. You know. And how do we then achieve that? I think at the end of the day, the government of the day needs to make sure that everyone gets a piece of land.
Is government doing that right now?
Government for the past 24 years, they've been making strides to make sure that South Africans do get land.
But I want my land. You've just told me it's my constitutional right to get land.
With what advocate is talking about. Government has not been doing anything with regard to pushing an agenda of land. All what you see is that they've appointed structures out there, commissions established, people stealing over 54 billion of money that was supposed to be spent in bringing back land. And you look into Department of Rural and Rural Development. Government allocates that department small allocations of budget. Over less than 10 billion rand allocated to that department.
Sizobuya kuwena ngenxa yesikhathi kumele se break in, but sifuna ukuthi usibreakele down that so that you can find out exactly ukuthi ngalokhu ngeke sisithole yini sekunama more land grabs because people don't understand ukuthi kuzoba kanjani. Asambe se break in siyabuya siqhubeka nodaba lwethu. Welcome back to iDaily Thetha. Namanje sabheka amalungelo lawa ngathi asebukela phansi or akhohliwe eNingizimu Afrika. We still have ama guests wethu, but we decided to add umphobo nse ozobe esichazela kabanzi about itopic esikhuluma namhlanje because ivuleleke na wonke umuntu. But before siye a break in Thabo, you were saying something about along the lines ukuthi ngokwakho ukubona the past 24 years awukho umehluko omngako osuwenziwe uhulumeni esiphila kuwo njengamanje.
Correct, yes. We're talking about issue of land. My people out there, Alex, they don't have land. And not only Alex people. All over. There are many people all over. Bush, as Charlotte, Nicolette comes from there. This constitution, it's a very clear document. It says we must expropriate land, and it gives government all the powers necessary to do this. But government go out there to do this thing, call it willing buyer, willing seller, which is unconstitutional.
So government
out there, they don't read constitution.
Wait. When you say they don't read, are you saying they don't know, or are they scared?
They don't read.
So they don't know what's happening in that.
They don't know what's going on with this constitution.
Okay.
Our public representatives, our MPs out there. So these things is clear and straightforward. Somewhere there,
that part that says expropriate land.
Somewhere there it says property may be expropriated only in terms of law of general application for purpose for a public purpose or in public interest. Okay. And subject to compensation, the amount of which, the time and manner of payment, which of course will be decided by the courts, and you know.
Advocate, when you can call, that thing.
Yes.
As a lawyer,
now moving forward, the government of the day has adopted a resolution in their previous conference to say land must be expropriated. It means, therefore, the land will belong to the state. And then the state will then take a decision what it will do. But it said first and foremost, the land will be given to the people, the original beneficiaries of it. Meaning us are going to then get this particular land. But when land is given to us, young people, the old and so forth, is to what are you going to do with that particular land? You will find the person having a land, but having to do nothing with it.
Well,
it's my land.
It's my land. I don't think you need to. It's like having a car without an engine.
Yeah.
If you born and
you've called me the rightful owner of it.
But let's come to you, Po, because we're touching on issues because we're reflecting and looking at 24 years later, what have we done in Africa? For the past couple of years, there's been this saying that all shall be equal before law, but we have seen some people where not really equal before law. They change things. Do you think
first of all, I think we need to unpack the idea of what is really freedom. And for me, in the space that I represent, freedom is a state of mind. You've spoken deeply on issues of land, which are really pertinent. They're very important. And we have this important document as well that speaks to how does a country, regulate its citizens, or how do we regulate ourselves as citizens of a country. And I think as an LGBTI activist as well, my point of contention would be to speak around issues of, one, our constitution is very clear when it comes to issues of protecting sexual minorities. These are your lesbian, gays, bisexual, transgender, intersex individuals. And that's one freedom that has been forgotten. Over 20 years into our democracy, we're still confronted and subjected to cases where young LGBTI individuals are subjected to, violations, looking at this constitution. So, and I think it's important that when we speak about land, we also speak about, such issues.
We're going to dive into that, but because about the former president, then I don't know what's your take on that.
I think my colleague here has spoken largely, and I think he comes from a school of thought where he speaks a lot about the ruling party. Yeah. So I'm not sure if that's where he's from.
You're dodging the question.
But what I'm trying to say is that no one is above the Constitution. We've spoken deeply about the Constitution. No one is above the Constitution, and the same with our ex-president. We shouldn't even have allowed the situation to get to where it was.
But we did.
We did. And we shouldn't have.
But how did we?
As the demo, like he indicated, it was supposed to be our prerogative, our power, our role as state men and women to ensure that we stop that when it started. So and we failed to do that.
This sentiment of the people shall govern themselves, is it a lie? Because there's the Constitution. Yeah. It tells us that straight, there's no person who's above the law. But we've seen it many times happen in this country.
This is the supreme law of the country.
Yes.
Okay? And I'll definitely say the power matrix that said President Jacob Zuma was above the Constitution, it's a lie.
Okay.
And a ploy
to
discredit Jacob Zuma.
Okay. Explain to us.
Okay, we have just seen him being subjected to go to court that where criminal sits.
Yes.
You know, people who rape children sits. So he subjected himself to be there, you know, to be tried fairly.
Yes.
And then he has been also using his constitutional rights to defend himself, of course.
Which is correct and it's fair.
Of course, in terms of power matrix, there are people who have been over the Constitution in South Africa, like Thabo Mbeki, for instance, you know, who did things that surprised all of us. And some of these things that you may ask today, you might also see with the coming and revelations of Mama Winnie Mandela's passing, that people are beginning to come out that he was innocent, you know, and the previous leaders, when Mama Winnie was subjected to all these bad things, they kept quiet. You know, they never said anything. Now he has passed away, and people want to claim to say they know Mama Winnie was so special, he was an angel, this and this and this, you know. So Mama Winnie was a beacon of hope, of course, for many of us as young people. And in my community, he came more than 16 times from 1976. He came in the 50s too to help women who were having problems with getting, when they give birth, children die, you know. So he came there, and he came many times.
Thabo, so let's put former President Jacob Zuma on the side. There's many cases where people who have money have gone above the law.
Yes, they are.
Yes. What I'm asking is, Rune, what do we have as the people of South Africa? What is the power that we have to call those people into order to say, we will not allow this as a country?
I think the only way that to deal with this matter is to punish them through our votes, you know. You must take your feet, you must not disengage from going to votes. You must go and vote in numbers. You know, go and vote for a political party of your choice that you definitely sure that
what if we don't like the options
to deliver.
What if you don't like all the options?
That is the only option.
That
is the only option.
I think also coming in, so we're speaking about our rights weights, like human rights as well. We're having Ukashot Brooks, what are my rights weights? Because it seems as if about was amalungelo abo in Ningzim Africa. As someone say, Prekeni must be a Skubega no later. Welcome back to Daily Thetha. Sakhuluma about amalungelo esicabanga ukuthi abantu bawakhohliwe, especially abanye abasemakhaya nabasemalokishini namasababa abafila ukuthi yazini lokhu kuyilungelo lami but njengamanje angikwazi uku-accessa. Mpho, you're gonna talk about ukuthi abantu abaningi basakhala ukuthi LGBTI community is represented on paper la in South Africa, but when you go to the street it's a different story altogether.
Yes, like I said, before offline, we were talking about this idea of where does this whole thing start? And I think we need to blame, greatly colonization, because when one speaks of sexual minority or LGBTI, that's where our problem started, where religion, amongst others, as institutions, imposed to say that LGBTI is an African, LGBTI is nothing that came into a place in Africa. It came into Africa by a white man. So those, understandings that are, even progressed by religious institutions, by our governments across Africa, not just in South Africa only, are very problematic. And today, when you go out in streets, you hear people saying LGBTI is a sin. You hear people, all these negative connotations around LGBTI.
There was a story, where Somizi Mhlongo, esontweni wafila as if umfundisi ukhuluma bad about the gay community, and abanye abantu baba up in arms as well, defending umfundisi on social media, saying that we cannot change iBhayibheli because you want it suit her well. What was your take on that?
I remain resolute to say that religious leaders, religious institutions have a significant role to play in terms of changing how people think, changing the status quo in terms of what I spoke about, corrective rape, the killing of lesbian women around the country. So the church has that specific role. And even today, as the Embrace Diversity political movement, we continuously say that what the church did was wrong. And even for those churches that we don't know about, where Somizi Mhlongo was absent, it's a problem. And our role is to make sure that the religious sector, also the faith-based sector, understands that they have a role to play in terms of changing the status quo.
All right.
That's our work.
Let's quickly, there's an interesting social media comment coming in. This is by Standwa Lusibang Lukhulu. At a Bill of Rights poverty, what about us who were born between 1972 and 1989? What does South Africa have as assistance in life for our struggles? The most poorest of people in South Africa come from that age. Nobody wants to hire them. Mr. Gashua Brooks, who is from Human Rights Commission, is it possible in South Africa we can say, okay, hold on, we are concentrating on this freedom and this right. We will come back and deal with this specific freedom, because it doesn't seem like every single freedom that is enshrined in the Bill of Rights, every single right of every person that's enshrined in the Bill of Rights is being recognized in the country.
Well, I think that we have to be honest with ourselves as South Africans and understand that Chapter 2 of the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, all of those rights, there is no hierarchy. There's no right that needs to be implemented first and then we come back to another right. All of those rights are implementable. But the point is some rights are obviously gradually and progressively realizable. So especially your socioeconomic rights. We understand that the dispensation that existed before 1994 was structurally designed to leave people unequal. And unequal not just on the basis of you are not able to vote, you're not able to go to particular schools or occupy particular spaces, but economically as well. So people were excluded from the mainstream economy. People were placed, and the vast majority of South Africans were left in poverty. And that is why, for example, that study that you mentioned earlier on shows that 49% of South Africans are in chronic poverty. So what that basically means is that for real equality to be realized, we also need to realize socioeconomic rights. But then it goes back to the conversations that you've been having all along throughout this process and looking at what substantive equality actually means. And what it means is that, yes, we do need to hold government to account for exercising particular rights. And that we need to stop moving away from, or start moving away from, the idea of populism. I mean, if you look at the conversation that you had earlier on around the word land, the key issue and why there was no clarity on what we're talking about is because we don't even know what we're talking about in terms of land, just in this conversation. Are we talking about agricultural land? Are we talking about business properties? Are we talking about the fact that people need to have access to places where they can stay and sleep? Because from that perspective, government has rolled out numerous houses, which technically means that land has been delivered on. But then coming back to Tabo's point earlier on, around the issue of expropriation, how effective has that been?
But Gashwell, is it a piece of land that government is giving me, or is it a dignified piece of land?
No, but Nicolette, the issue is, that is the problem. We have not defined what we mean by land. So of course, if we're going to have if you're going to tell me land, and I show you a little corner in my backyard, that is land.
Yeah.
If you want to have a substantive conversation about land, then it needs to be developed. And to go back to the advocate's point on that issue alone, I think it was a bit of a stretch how he outlined what the process is.
Yes.
Because what we're not taking into account is that Parliament has to go sit and go through a constitutional amendment, which in itself is nearly a miracle.
Yeah, it's not a button press.
It's not a button press. So that is why I say that the reason why we're in the position that we're in 24 years later, and I think that the work that the South African Human Rights Commission has been doing shows that we've not been effectively delivering on many of the rights. So in some instances, there are budgetary and legal constraints. But in other instances, it is issues like corruption, maladministration, not delivering on the rights that people are entitled to. We talk about land and highfalutin issues of that nature. Healthcare.
Yeah, sure.
So, LGBTI persons' rights. Our constitution from 1996 made it clear in Section 9, you cannot discriminate on the basis of, amongst others, sexual orientation, gender, sex, race, religion, you name it. It's all in there. But yet we still see these violations on a day-to-day basis.
I'm going to come to you because Uzoba on the couch as well, just to unpack most of the things. But quickly, before we go to a break in Njengamanje Thabo, there's an issue of abantu bakhala ukuthi people abama politicians anoqasha ihlobo zabo or ama friends wabo. Thina abantu esibavotelana bakhankasa kuthina bebe besibeka eceleni if sekuyisikhathi sokuthi kuze emsebenzini. What is your take out of that?
Yes, that is something that is very problematic. That is why the previous president has asked would this matter be looked into, particularly good Department of Higher Education and Namasitas why. So I think that is a serious problem, because where you have a minister having umfazi wakhe nabantwana bakhe basebenza bathola amatenda, representatives of the governing party having the same in the minds, doing all these sort of things. These are things that are not acceptable. We have to shame them and put them very clearly so that people should know them. Go to Uzban wenza kanje. We should not be afraid to say blade, kwete. This is things that they also do. But they are involved in state capture. So these are things that our people must also know. To resolve the problems in South Africa.
But allegations
they are not allegations, they are out there on social media.
Okay, we still treat them as allegations because we don't prove what gets
Welcome back to Daily Thetha. As we celebrate a Freedom Day, re go tsheba gore na weni some of ditokologo tso o nagana gore hai man tso ba di lebele man. What are they? Please do send us your comments or on all our social media pages. Remember to use the hashtag Daily Thetha. Na se go tsheba sona go gore mo tshwantse go votiwe. You know, our politicians remember our right to vote, and they'll put out all these flyers and campaigns gore se planning lo vote. When it comes to things that we actually need, things like healthcare, things like unemployment, bana le gore lebala. But you've got a question also ka taba ya land. A o re botsisele yona.
Sanibonani, kamala mnkamkhelo. Ngine question lapho ngifuna ukuyibuza. Nginomngane obehlala nogogo. So it happens ukuthi bathi khona la kuneyitende khona like uhamba uyobeka umkhukhu wakho ubekise so whatever. Indaba yakho namasile landelisa kahle bebazwe ukuthi khona la kufakwa khona itent.
So bazwile.
Okay. Yes, so bambile khona lapho bayofaka nabo itende bahlele maybe iviki, then after a week ama red ants azazobakhipha like balahlela impahla zabo ngaphandle babatshela ukuthi they are not supposed to stay.
But bekuyiland yakabani?
I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe perhaps the couch can respond to that.
I don't know about this because one, I'm trying to find out who said that people must go and put the stands. Was it a councillor? Was it maybe whoever, or you just had
But I think it was doing a council because of everyone like beware.
I think it's an issue of land grab.
Just a question. If
Yeah.
you can repeat.
So what happened is that they heard about an area that they could move to go and do a little mukukunyana, and then after a week of staying there, the red ants came and evicted them.
But there is a typical example again of, yes, the landowner, whether it be government or privately owned, has the right to evict people, right? But there's also a process that needs to be implemented in the eviction of people. So in as much as I, as a property owner, have the right to evict people, the people that I'm evicting also have certain rights. So first of all, I can't evict people off of a piece of land, whether they're living in a shack or in a derelict building, and leave them out on the streets with nowhere to go. Violence and those types of actions that we see that accompany these evictions is not supposed to be part of the process. And the sad fact of the matter is that in instances like that, whether it be governmental officials or private owners, are aware of the fact that these people have rights when being evicted. That they, for example, need to be provided with alternative accommodation.
Hold on, Gashfal. I have my own land and I'm not doing anything at the moment, and then all of a sudden people grab that land. I need to now think, where must I put those people?
Well, in those instances, that's why the law is the law in this particular instance, and I think the advocate can help me in this with this issue as well, is that I don't necessarily have to go and buy and rent a place for you. But then in that instance, the local municipality, the local government needs to assist in providing those people with the necessary accommodation. So in as much as we're getting those people out of my property, so too I need assistance in assuring, because I'm pretty sure that even if I'm the richest of the richest landowners or property owners, I don't necessarily have the resources to put other people up in another space. But in that instance, that is where government plays a role in ensuring that people that are homeless and people that are obviously in a position of poverty are then provided with alternative accommodation in those instances, which is supposed to be the case in any event.
Cool stuff. Let's go to the second question.
My brother that side also has a question about ownership ya land in South Africa. Please ask your question.
So now, like,
I
want to know, like, these private owned lands, like, sometimes you may find what the owner belong into this country. So like, and then that land it generator like zaka into much money. So like, I benefit the country cars like, how is it being issued?
So he's specifically speaking about, yes, Kini?
No, I was about to just to find out, my brother. You're saying that if someone invested in a business in South Africa and that business doesn't really benefit much of people about in Africa, what must he do about it?
Nah.
So I think what he's saying is he's talking about the issue where we said the land belongs to everyone. So what about foreigners that own land in South Africa?
Yeah.
How do we deal with that issue?
Again, the simple solution, sorry to jump in, and I'll keep this short. The simple solution is that we have policies and laws in place to ensure that there is beneficiation. So that even if it is owned by someone that is a non-national, someone that is not South African, that is why and it's generating an income as he had suggested. That is why we tax incomes that are generated in the country. That is why we have certain laws in place to ensure that the country is in fact beneficiated. For example, employment equity laws that we have to ensure that there's a certain number of South Africans, at the very minimum, that the majority of the people that you employ are South African. The issue is, and this is unfortunately, just to sum up this conversation, and what I think is the biggest gap as South Africans, and it's incumbent on us, is that, as Thabo pointed out, that constitution. If you don't have a copy of that constitution, at the very minimum, you're not going to know what your rights are. And it's incumbent on each and every single one of us to ensure that we understand what our rights are. And that booklet, as small as it is, being the constitution that Thabo has in his possession, you don't even need to know the entire thing. You need to know one chapter, that is chapter 2. It outlines all the rights that you have, and that already puts us at an advantage in that we understand what rights we have. That is the unfortunate thing. We do not know.
Thabo, a quick one. I want to come to you because I think Alex no color or cool as well. When it comes to RDP houses, allocation ya corner, allocator even people abangasibo abase Alex or abangasibo baseningizimu in Africa. Ningena pegana SMS journalists and dila kanjani naso?
I think it's a problem that happens nationwide. We often go talk to MECs responsible for human settlement. They do absolutely nothing about it. You know, many cases has been sent to the public protector to investigate, and nobody comes forth to come back to tell the people of Alex what they have found. So there's a slow movement of public representatives absolutely doing bogorov about us assisting my community. Well, back to the issue of land, as yes, there are people, there are SMSs out there, yes, who are saying people must occupy land. Yes, I've received one, and many occasions I've been receiving such SMS. Of course, some I might have been receiving from EFF, some I might have been receiving from civic movements that are there, created recently. Of course, it's a campaign that is very positive, of which, in my view, I think it's a correct campaign. People must occupy land. They can't wait for long, okay? They can't wait for the next coming 366 years.
Are you saying good land crabs is a good thing that's currently happening?
Look, I've been discussing with the farmers. I've been looking into the eyes of the enemy there at Gibbs Institute. So the problem that is there currently taking place, it's food security. Government does not even support these farmers. Okay, they leave land fallow, not planted, because some of them, they fear that land is going to be expropriated, and some of them raise matters pertain to that. Government doesn't help them with anything. These are farmers raising matters that government doesn't do. And as people who are also raising the same issues, that government must also look into issues of accommodations. Okay, Wits University, for one, owns land called Frankenwald. Okay, and they're selling it to developers for 2 billion rands. And the government of Gauteng doesn't want to buy that land. They're dragging their feet. Where must people of Alexander go? We are not sterile in Alexander, okay? So we have children, and they must occupy spaces in the shacks. That's the thing that I'm
Thetha, can I just come in? I think that's a very important social media that is coming that we need to read. Right to safety. We as South African women are being raped daily, and people are being robbed of their belongings. People are brutally killed now and then, and this is for it. What? This all means that our right to safety is still ignored. So we're thinking about all the ladies. The safety of women in South Africa is absolutely shocking. We are scared. We are living in fear, and it's a real problem.
Thank you very much ukuthi ukwazi ukuthi sinikeze nje iso lakho kwi-Daily Thetha ngoLwesine. Siyabuya futhi ngomsombuluko. Uyazi isikhathi sakho nasishintshile u-10:30 kuzoshaya 11:30. Thank you, siyabonga.